putting diabetes in remission, reversing diabetes. Too good to be true? Not really. We're hearing it. We're hearing it. We're seeing it. And the medical community is now excited because they're seeing so many people that are reversing, that's right, reversing diabetes. In just recently, a couple of years ago, the American Diabetic Association, for the first time, listed criteria for what they call remission of diabetes. For the very first time in its history, it was not classified, that's diabetes, was not classified anymore as a chronic progressive disease, but there were criteria that were given for reversing diabetes. And one of the big arguments that's going on right now, not just the one between carbs and fats, but is between exercise and food and calories and what's good and what's bad. And tonight we're going to talk about calories. We are here right now putting diabetes in remission. We're reversing diabetes. Hey, if you're new to me, I'm Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here on the channel, I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level in this year. That's right, new year, new you. I'm talking to adults with type 2 diabetes who want to reverse their diabetes. And tonight we're going to spend some time talking about that. Hey, so glad that you're here. If you're new to me, go ahead and put new in the comments because I'd love to welcome you with a hand clap and some music. And let you know that we are glad that you are here. If you are new and you do have questions, go ahead and put those in the comments in the chat with a Q in front of it so that I'll know that that's one that I need to get to. And as we always do, I've got some things here that we're going to look at here in just a minute. I've got my meters. Let's see. I've got my meters over here. I've got my report that we're going to take a look at here in just a minute as we get into the rest of the show, talk about where we are, talk about what we've been doing, and talk about this amazing process that we are working on in reversing diabetes. New year, new you. Wherever you are joining me from, I'm glad that you are here. I do see some folks out there. I see the light works. Hey, thank you for stopping by and hanging out with us. I'm going to give you a hand clap and some music. I don't remember if you've been here before, but thank you for hanging out with us. Oh, there you go. You said new. So thank you for coming by and saying hello. And then, of course, Teresa, glad that you're here. And if you are on any of our other social media platforms, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter or X, Facebook, of course, here on YouTube. Glad that you are here joining us. If you're out there and you don't see a friend of yours or someone you invited, go ahead and send them a link. Let them know that we're in the saddle and we are about to get going here as we move through the night, through the conversation. Well, let's hop over and let's take a look quickly at some of our numbers, and then we'll hop over and get into our discussion. So I'm going to show you, so this is my Libre that you're seeing on the screen, 83 blood sugar, and you see for most of the day today, we've been kind of going down. I ate for the last time yesterday evening, I don't know, maybe 7, 8 o'clock or so. And so since then, that's what my blood sugar has been doing, heading down. As you know, we're going to be doing our check-in, our fasting check-in coming on later this week. And I actually started early. We'll talk about that on one of our check-in days. Here is my Dexcom. Dexcom says that my blood sugar is 108. And so if you've been with us, you know that I'm showing you both of these because there are some concerns sometimes people have between one meter being different from another. And you'll see here, 108 versus 83. Okay, so that's a little over 20 points. And then let's hop over and let's take a look at what my actual finger sticks are showing. So I've got a Contour and I've got a Keto Mojo. And let's go ahead and grab a test strip for the Contour. We'll get that one going. Let's see, a Contour. And then Keto Mojo. And this one, if you remember, will show both the blood sugar and also ketones, right? So get those started. And then here in my little trusty, let's see, which one should I use today? I'll use, how about one of these? Okay, and so this is a loaded lancet. Basically, you break off this top part. And as I do that, there's a little spring that's in there. When I press that button or that little lever, the lancet will come out. And let's do it here so you can hear it. Let's see, how about this? Hopefully you heard that. And let's see, let's make sure we got a good, no, we didn't get a good, well, not a good enough one. I didn't press hard enough. So let's see, let's grab another one. There we go. So once again, we're gonna break off the top. And this time I'm gonna press it down. Boom, I think that one did it because I felt it. All right, there we go. All right, so here is our drop of blood. We'll do that for the Keto Mojo. Get a drop of blood here for the contour. So 82 for the Keto Mojo, the 91 for the contour. You'll see on the screen that my Libre says 84. So those really are kind of keeping in with each other. And the odd man out right now is, of course, the Dexcom, because it's saying 108. Well, the other thing is, what do you think my ketones are going to be, right? Because I have, it's been almost, yeah, about 24 hours. Let's go ahead and get that going. And of course, I'm always teasing you guys because I'm not going to show you that one, but we'll come back to that. And remind me, because I think a couple of weeks ago I didn't come back and show you what the ketones were. All right, so let's hop over and let's have a conversation, y'all. Let's have a conversation. And so the conversation for tonight is really an introductory discussion, because the next several shows that we're going to do are going to be based on our conversation tonight. Remember what our premise is, or what our goal is. Our goal is to reverse diabetes. That is the goal. As an ancillary to all of that, all of the metabolic diseases that we've talked about, whether it's high blood pressure, high cholesterol, obesity, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, polycystic ovarian syndrome, and on and on and on, all of those get better as we make inroads into managing diabetes. So if you're out there and you say, well, I'm not diabetic, so I don't have to listen to this. No, all the things that we talk about are appropriate for those people who have metabolic diseases as well. But our goal, our plan is to reverse diabetes, to be able to get off of diabetes medications, get our A1C down, get us to the point where all of the other metabolic things that are going on in a diabetic's life are improved. Okay, so that's the plan. Our pillars, the three pillars are: 1, decrease insulin; 2, suppress the appetite; and 3, get rid of as much sugar as possible. And there is this conversation that continues to happen when people are talking about diabetes, and in fact, when they talk about metabolic diseases, all of them. And that is, which is better, or which is the bad guy? Is it the carbs or is it the calories? It's not calories. Carbs or fats. Carbs or fats. And that's been an ongoing discussion. It's been an argument. It's been, right now there's some people probably somewhere sitting in a room trying to come up with some guidelines. Okay? So that's one of the things that's going on out there. The other kind of question that people have, which is not asked a lot, is which makes more sense? Is it a calorie issue that I'm having? In other words, is it a food problem or is it an exercise problem? Because those are really the two places where calories come into play. Am I putting too much in and I'm not taking enough out? And so the question that we have tonight, and you guys saw the flyer, is The key is are calories the key? Are calories the key? Or are they not the key? Right? So years ago, it was unsightly, really. If you go back to, I don't know, 60s, early 70s, it was considered unladylike to see a woman jogging. Right? It was not just, it wasn't something that you did, right? Because women tend to wear dresses and, long skirts. But as we moved into the modern era, we start to see more and more people, in not just women, but now everybody, right? You go in some of the neighborhoods and you see people running around, you see people getting gym memberships, and oh my goodness, at the beginning of the year, as we're getting to the end of a year and starting to get into the beginning of the next year, then people are getting gym memberships. All of the equipment at the store are being purchased. People have all these plans. They're coming up with these calendars and all this thing they're going to do. And by end of February going into March, there's the treadmill has like clothes hanging on it. The elliptical is under the bed. The gym membership is still there, but nobody's going, right? So all those things are happening. And the reason that most people are in the space of that mindset is they're working on calories. They're working on calories because we've been told that if we work on calories, that improves a lot of different things. And we'll talk about what some of those things are here in just a minute. But what is a calorie? A calorie really is a unit of energy. It's a unit of energy. And the way that calories are measured as it relates to food, it is actually a unit of energy that's given by heat. So they basically take some food and they put it in something called a calorimeter and they burn it and they see how much heat is generated from using that substance. For instance, they take they take some broccoli and they put it in and they see how much heat the broccoli generates. Or they take a piece of meat and they put it in the calorimeter and they see how much heat that piece of meat generates compared to other things. And that's where we get this idea of calories, right, from. So calories, it's a measure of energy and it comes from the food that we eat, and we'll kind of get through that here in a minute. So the food cycle. What is the food cycle? And we all know this intuitively, but basically what happens, we eat something, that food gets digested, it gets absorbed into the body, and then the body breaks it down to its component parts, and those component parts are what the body uses for energy. Whether it's energy right now for you to breathe, for your heart to go, for you to move, all the things that right now are going on even as you're watching me. Right? So those are the things that are going on. That's where the energy is going. Or the body's using some of those components, for instance, proteins, to build itself up. So bones and tissues and skin and nails and teeth and hair and all those types of things. Or enzymes, those are substances in the body that the body needs to function. All of that comes from the energy that comes from the food that we are eating once it's absorbed. So where do calories come from specifically? All right, so different foods have different calories. And so, an orange has a certain number of calories. A piece of kale has a certain amount of calories. A chicken leg, a chicken wing, a piece of veal, piece of lamb, all have calories that are associated with it. And remember, those calories come from this calorimeter. It's just a measure of how much, as they calculated how much energy, how much heat was generated when that piece of food was consumed and when it was burned, and how much it gave off. Okay, so that's where calories. And as we eat the food, the body breaks it down. It extracts those calories for us. Well, there are standards for how many calories typically come from different foods. For example, carbohydrates, there are 4 grams or 4 calories, or actually you'll see them called kilocalories, so kcal. So 4 grams, and we shorten it as calories. 4 calories per gram of carbohydrate. So you take any particular carbohydrate, and there are 4 grams or 4 calories in that piece of food. If you look at protein, then there are 4 calories per gram of protein. So calories in carbohydrates, calories in protein are pretty similar. When we look at fat, fat is like the big guy, right? Because that's the storage. That's why that's why the body preferentially sends energy into fat, because per gram of fat we can actually store almost or twice as much, more than twice as much energy in a gram of fat. So we can store 9 calories in every gram of fat. So that's why the body actually preferentially sends energy to fat. People say, why won't it send it to protein? Well, protein is only 4 grams or 4 calories per gram. And why doesn't it save it as carbohydrate? Now, it saves some of it, as we've talked here, is glycogen, but it's not the most efficient way to store it. And we actually get more when we eat fat than when we get from the other things. And of course, I have to throw this up there, alcohol, right? So 7 calories per gram of alcohol. All right, that's a whole nother conversation. but I thought that was interesting to put up, right? So that's where it comes from. And so when we talk about food and we talk about calories, we want to talk about nutrient dense versus calorie dense, right? Nutrient dense versus calorie dense. And it's simply a description in how we break the food apart, right? How we break it down. So food that is nutrient dense has a lot of vitamins, has a lot of minerals. These are the foods that people tend to say are healthy for you. Okay? Are healthy for you. A point here to be made is just because something is healthy for you does not mean that it's necessarily good for blood sugar, right? So that's for example, if you eat a steak every day for every meal, you'll have perfect blood sugars because there's no carbohydrate in a steak, unless you tenderize it, put it in batter, put it in meal, and put it and fry it. Now the batter that you put it in, that makes it high carb, right? But if you eat a steak all day, every day, for every meal, your blood sugars would be perfect. So that's good for blood sugar. Now, is it good for you? Is it healthy for you? Probably not, because now you have your cholesterol goes up and it causes other issues. So just an example of just because it's good for you doesn't mean that it's good for blood sugar, right? And specifically here, we're talking about blood sugar. We're talking about reversing diabetes. So, so high in protein, high in vitamins. Typical examples of this would be vegetables, fruits, and lean protein. Right? Those are the things that are nutrient dense. And so if we now talk about calorie dense things, these are things that are high in calories but low in nutrients. So lots of calories. It's kind of like, I give the example often that if you go to the grocery store or go anywhere, right, to any convenience store, you can get let me grab this. You can get a candy bar. Let me move this stuff off so you can see. You can get a candy bar that's yay big, right? And notice that's my finger compared to that. You can get a candy bar that's that big that has, 300, 400 calories. It can happen. And so the food that we're eating is very calorie dense. But if you look into that food, then there's not a lot of nutrients. So not a lot of vitamins and minerals and fluid and fiber and all those things that we talk about in terms of saying that something is healthy or better for you. Okay? So that's an interesting point to be made, because sometimes that gets lost on us. And that, as we've moved into the modern era, is something that we see more and more and more. That the foods that we're eating, because of the processing and refinement, that the food is denser in terms of calories, but not packed full of energy and nutrients and vitamins and all those things that we kind of associate with being healthy. Right. So these are things like sugary snacks or fried foods. So these are calorie dense. They are not nutrient dense. The nutrient dense things are the things that we talked about before. And when we did our show, we've done a couple of shows kind of leading up to some of this, right? So we did our show on starchy and non-starchy vegetables. You remember that? We did the show where we talked about processing versus non-processing, and we'll come back and refine some of those a little later on. But that's the whole idea here: nutrient dense versus calorie dense. All right, but is it that simple? Is it just an equation that x plus y equals something, right? Is that really the answer to all that we are discussing? Is it as simple as 1 plus 3 equals 4? That I take some calories, I take those in, and if I do something to those calories, then pop out on the other side is what I want. Okay? Because many of us have done it before, right? So we have done what we've been told. We have counted the calories and we've gone to the gym, right? And so that's usually the idea that we are told, that calories in versus calories out gives us either weight, or if you are working with blood sugars, then we're told that, and often we get the impression that if we decrease our calories, then blood sugars get better. Right? If you have that idea, or someone's told you that in the past, or you've read that somewhere, go ahead and put yes in the comments. That is, if I control my calories, then my blood sugar and my weight will get better. Right? Go ahead and put yes in the comments. Now, here's the thing. It's a little bit more involved. It's a little bit more involved than what is proposed or what people say. Let me give a couple of examples. Let's take this. So here's a simple one. So chicken breast versus donuts. Chicken breast versus donuts. So I can eat chicken breast that has 500 calories. Or I can eat donuts that have 500 calories. And let's kind of walk through a couple of things together. Number one, which one of those do we think is going to give us a bigger spike in our blood sugar? I'll tell you, it's not the chicken. It's not the chicken breast, right? It's the donut. And so even though we have the same number of calories, one affects my body in a different way compared to the other. In fact, if I eat the chicken breast, my blood sugar doesn't spike up. I can feel fuller because the chicken breast has some substance to it, because it causes some stretch in my stomach. The amount of chicken breast that I probably can eat is more than the donut that I would eat to give me the 500 calories. Right? So quantity-wise, chicken breasts, I probably eat more than my donut. In terms of blood sugar spike, I get lower spike in blood sugar compared to the donut. Right? So calories, all calories are not the same. When I was going to say when I first moved here, but it doesn't even have to just be here. Whenever I go to the hospital, there's this conversation that I have sometimes with the folks that I see there. So I'll walk into a patient's room and I'll look at the tray. Say a patient that I've been asked to come see who happens to be a diabetic, right? They came in for some other thing, their blood sugar's out of control, and they asked me to come in. And so I'll walk into the room and I'll look at what's on the tray. And on the tray, there'll be, mashed potatoes. There may be a little piece of pie on the side. There's a roll. There's a couple pieces of broccoli, a piece of chicken, and there's some unsweetened tea. And the patient will say to me, "Hey, doc, I don't eat like this when I'm at home. Like, this is too many carbs for me." And here's the thing that's going on. When we often talk about when we often talk about calories, a lot of people think that calories are equal. So whether you get calories from carbohydrates or whether you get calories from fat and protein, they're the same. And the answer is not really, right? Not really. But that's a scenario that I see that I've seen often. So calories from chicken breast or calories from donuts, not the same. Here's another one, a simple one. So calories, 200 calories, and we're going to drink either soda or we're going to eat one of my favorite things, almonds, right? Love almonds. Yeah. Okay. I don't know why, but here it is. So 200 calories from sodas, 200 calories from almonds. So if we compare the calories themselves, they are equal. The almonds, however, have fiber in them. They have some fat in them. They probably don't cause as big a spike in my blood sugar compared to the soda. And they're probably a little bit more filling than the soda. Because of the fiber, I don't get as big the absorption of all the carbohydrates from the food that I'm eating. But if I drink the soda, there's no fiber there, and I get an immediate spike in my blood sugar, and it goes away quickly. Okay? So same number of calories, different response in the body. And that's going to be key here as we get into the rest of this conversation. All right. So here's the thing. Food elicits hormonal responses. The food that we eat is not just the food that we eat. Just like the example just a minute ago of the chicken breast and the donut. Notice the hormone that was stimulated by the donut. The donut caused a spike in blood sugar. Because the blood sugar went up, what hormone has to come out? Insulin has to come out. And when insulin comes out, insulin is the guy that causes a lot of the issues that we've talked about in terms of metabolic disease. Because now insulin comes out, and insulin's job, first of all, is to bring the blood sugar back down. So that's what it's going to do. And how does it bring the blood sugar back down? By taking the sugar from your blood and it tucks it away in different places. I was telling someone earlier today, and you probably heard me tell this story before. When my mom, when I was a kid, there was 6 of us at the time, with 4 in the apartment. My mom would go to work, and she would say, "Hey, I need you guys to clean the house." And she would be gone all day, and we would watch TV, we'd play, we'd cook, we'd eat, we'd do all kinds of other stuff other than clean up the house. And then here she comes, and I'm not sure why she never took her keys. We lived on the third floor of the apartment building. And so she would ring the bell, and one of us would stick our head out and say, "Hey, we're coming down," while the rest of us ran around and tried to clean up the house. Now, when she showed up, when she got upstairs finally, she could probably eat off the floor because there was not a speck. Now, if you know my mom, you know that she could find a speck anyway. But the floor was clean. Everything looked good. But boy, if she happened to open a closet or go under a bed or go into a drawer, there was stuff like just piled up there. Right? Because but the house was clean, but we had to stuff it somewhere else. And that's what insulin does. Insulin's job is to clean the blood, take the stuff out of the blood, but guess what? It has to go somewhere. And where do you think it puts it? Yeah, it stuffs it into the liver. It stuffs it into the vessels. The cholesterol level goes up. The fat cell go up. And so insulin's job is to do the storage, but it's putting it in places that we don't necessarily want it to be. So people say, hey, I put on weight. Well, yes, you put on weight because the insulin is a storage hormone. In fact, in fact, if you ate something that spiked your insulin and the insulin level is up, and then you ate broccoli after you ate that thing that spiked the insulin, some of the energy from the broccoli is going to get stored. Right? Because insulin doesn't care. It doesn't know that you just ate broccoli after you ate the donut. The insulin level is still high, and anytime energy is coming in, it's taking some of that and it's putting into storage. So that's why one of the pillars of reversing diabetes is to decrease insulin. So decrease insulin as much as possible. When insulin comes out, as we've said before, insulin stimulates the appetite. So what does that make you do? So you ate the donut, and all of a sudden you want another donut, and another donut, and another donut. Why? Because the insulin is stimulating the appetite. Because you get that big spike in insulin after you ate the carbs or ate those refined foods, the blood sugar drops, and so people feel weak and tired. Why? Because the energy level is going down, because the insulin is sucking the sugar out of the blood. Okay? So food elicits hormonal responses. If you ate something that has, and notice on the screen it says good and bad carbs. Good carbs, bad carbs. Now, those words, good and bad, a whole nother conversation. But that's what we're going to use for now. Good carbs, bad carbs. Why would something be considered a good carb or a bad carb? It has to do with the hormonal response. So that's why it is difficult. That's why it's difficult to eat things that cause spikes in blood sugar and still lose weight. Because even though you may have eaten broccoli that's 200 calories, and you ate potato chips that's 200 calories, the potato chips cause a bigger spike in blood sugar. And because you have a bigger spike in blood sugar, you have a bigger rise in insulin. And once insulin is there, it's going to put on weight, even though you're thinking, wait a minute, this is not enough. This is not enough food for me to have put on weight. It is not the total quantity of the food. It is the spike in blood sugar and the response that you get from the insulin. There are hormones that come out because of other things that we eat. When we eat protein, for example, we get this feeling of satiety. We get this feeling of fullness. So we tend not to want to eat more. I heard, was it Jason Fung recently was talking about going to a buffet and you eat food and you're full, you're stuffed. You can't take another piece of anything because you're full. You've eaten a lot of protein, right? And you can't eat another. People hand you a piece of chicken leg and you're like, I can't eat anymore. They give you some prime steak. No, I can't take it anymore. They give you a piece of veal. Oh, I can't take it anymore. But somebody walks up and hands you a donut. Guess what? All of a sudden, you found some space. Okay? So there's this hormonal response. When we eat fat blunts the rise that we get in sugar. So if you eat fat with protein, fat with carbs, the blood sugar doesn't spike as much because of the fat that we've put in. So once again, it's not as simple as A plus B equals C. It's not as simple as count the carbs, exercise, and it goes away. There are other factors that come into play when we talk about how our body responds to the food that we're eating. Here's another simple example. There are foods that you're going to eat, or times when we eat foods, and we eat them because they cause something in us. This is going back to our heat model. Remember that taste? We're never chasing the food. We're chasing what the food does for us. And so, when we eat certain foods, we get certain feelings. We get certain responses in our body. Chocolate, for example, causes changes in cortisol level. That's why people eat chocolate because it calms them. There's something in chocolate that causes cortisol to go down. Oh, yeah. Like, I don't have anybody who ever says to me, hey, I woke up and I was craving broccoli. I've never had that happen before. But I have people all the time who say, hey, I woke up, I was craving chocolate, I was craving ice cream, a chocolate bar, candy, cookies, chips. Because there's something in those that calms us, that takes us back to another space, another place. And so foods have signals. So when you're eating something, it is not just the food that you're eating, which is why it's not just about the calories. So counting calories, great, love it. Hey, if you want to do it, do it. But what is the calorie? What is the food telling the body in how to process it? Here's another example. Here's another thought. There are the foods that we eat, right? The different types of foods take energy to process. So you eat a piece of candy, or you eat, I don't know, just pick any food, and that food has to be broken down. It has to be processed. And so there's a certain amount of energy that's required just to digest the food. And certain foods take more energy to digest than others. So when we eat the food, there's the signal, number one, is I need a certain amount of energy to break this food down, not even talking about how many calories are in the food itself. Right? It's kind of like going, okay, you're shipping something. Or when I go to the store or go to FedEx or UPS or wherever, and I want to ship something or the post office. You're going to send a package. In order to send the package, say you're sending some money to somebody. You're sending a check, you're sending a money order, whatever. I guess now you can just Cash App it. Right, but in the envelope, say there's $100 in the envelope. Well, I'm sending the $100, but it doesn't cost me $100 to send $100. It costs me more. Because in order to send the $100, I've got to buy an envelope. I've got to buy a stamp. Maybe I have to buy a package, depending on how fast I wanted to get there. So the sending of it costs me money. So the eating of food, having it digested, absorbed, and broken into its component parts so I can get the energy from it, cost energy also. And so the type of foods that we eat, first of all, there's energy that goes into getting the energy from it. Then there is the amount of calories that are in the food itself. And then there's the signal that the food tells the body on what to do with it. So if I eat a piece of protein, I get decrease, if I eat some protein with some fat, with some carbs, So the protein automatically decreases the absorption of the carbs. It helps me feel fuller, satiated. So I get a feeling of fullness, so I'm not as hungry. But I put carbs in and spike in blood sugar, my weight goes up, my appetite gets stimulated, and I go eat some more food. Right? So X plus Y equals Z, yes, but there's more to it. It's more involved. And so the foods that we eat are having a big effect on our health. Here we're talking about decreasing or reversing diabetes. How does that play into this whole idea of calories? When you eat calories, and you'll hear people say to you, hey, cut back on food, cut back on food, cut back on food. And often we think calories, because I can't tell you the number of people that have come in and said to me, hey, I've stopped eating fried foods. hey, I've stopped eating, I bake everything now. And we'll walk through and I'll say, okay, well, tell me the things that you're eating. And often, they've cut back on the calories, but they've not cut back on the carbohydrates. Right? They've cut back on calories. Total calories are down. Hey, I'm only eating, say they went from an 1,800 to a 1,500 calorie diet. I'm only eating 1,500 calories. But if you look at the calories, if you look at the content of what they're eating, there's still food there that's causing spikes in blood sugar. So a calorie is not a calorie. Okay? All right. So let's see. I have a couple of, well, I shouldn't say a couple, I've got a lot of them. Some myths that I want to go through. And once again, for those of you who are out there, thank you for joining us. I see some folks over on Instagram. I see, of course, our folks here on YouTube. Thank you for coming through. If you have a question, if you have a comment, go ahead and drop it in the chat right now. Also, as we get into these myths, you probably saw this past weekend that we started a new feature, and the feature was called This Week in Review. This Week in Review, and it was a recast with some commentary of the shows that we do during the week. And so glad that you are here. Just really excited that you are here on the live, even as we do this and as we move into the rest of the week with our check-ins. On Sunday morning, starting at 6 o'clock, those shows are going to be recasted. So make sure you get out there. If somebody's missed it, you can let them know that on Sunday morning right here on YouTube and actually on all of our social media platforms. Probably the only one that is not casted on is Instagram. And we're working to automate that process. But all the other platforms, even if you're in our Facebook group, you will see that there as well. And it's being recasted on Sunday morning starting at 6 o'clock. And so you can catch it during that time. Once again, that is This Week in Review is what it's called. There you go. This Week in Review, a Dwain Woode MD special. So a feature that we started just this past week. Go back and watch the last one and catch us again on Sunday. All right, so let's look at some of these myths. That that we hear sometimes. Okay, myth number one: all calories are equal. A calorie is a calorie is a calorie is a calorie. And you'll see there, this is one that we just talked about, right? So myth, a calorie from any source will have the same effect on your body. And the reality is different macronutrients, proteins, fats, carbohydrates have different effects on metabolism, satiety, and blood sugar. Right? Those are the three things that we talked about. So when you eat them, they have a different response in terms of blood sugar, in how you feel, whether you feel full, and affects your metabolism in different ways. So not all carbs are the same, right? Not all carbs are equal. Now, myth number two, you can eat anything as long as you count calories. Well, we've just said, right, as long as you stay within your calorie count. And that's what I said a little while ago. People are changing up their stuff and they're counting the calories, they're cutting the calories, they're going from 18 to 1,500 calories. But when you look at the content of what they're eating, it is not in keeping with what we want to do in terms of blood sugar. And definitely, if it's causing an issue for blood sugar, it's also causing an issue for weight. So the reality is the quantity of calories, the quality of calories matter. Nutrient-dense foods provide essential vitamins, minerals, while empty calories can lead to nutritional deficiencies and health issues. Weight gain, higher blood sugars. Okay. Myth number three: calorie restriction is the best way to lose weight. Right? So cutting calories drastically is the most effective method for weight loss. What do you think? Reality: extreme calorie restriction can slow metabolism, leading to muscle loss, and is not sustainable long term. Balanced diets and regular exercise are more effective. And we'll come back and one other one of our shows, and we'll do a show specifically as we talk about exercise and calories. Okay, so here's a great place to make a couple of points, and let's read that again. So extreme calorie restriction can slow metabolism, lead to muscle loss, and is not sustainable long term. So let's talk about a couple of those. The first idea is long term. Let's start there. We're going to start backwards. Long term. So anybody can do anything for a short period of time. Right? You can make a decision and you can grin and bear it. You can white knuckle it and say, I'm not going to. And for a while that will work. But long term, it's not sustainable. So this idea of restricting calories, right? Not a long term sustainable thing. You want to adjust your lifestyle. That's why we say we want to change the lifestyle. We want you to do things that you can do for the rest of your life. Okay, all right. So that's the first point I wanted to make there. The second point that I wanted to get to was this idea of slowing the metabolism. One of the ways, or one of the reasons that I love fasting is that fasting is a way of decreasing the eating of fats and carbs and proteins without having the metabolism slow down. So when you are eating and you're cutting calories, say you're eating every day and you're cutting calories by 500 per day, what happens is that the body slows to compensate for the decreased amount that you're putting in, because it says, hey, every day I'm going to get some food and I'm going to get a little bit of food each day. So for a particular day, I'm going to just cut back on how much I process, how much I expend. So the metabolism slows down to compensate. When we're fasting, we're not putting anything in. Nothing whatsoever. So the body has to switch to another way of getting energy. So it's not having to cut back on energy. It's having to say, I got to go find some more energy somewhere else. And where does it find it? It finds it in the fat cells. And once it taps into the fat cells, it's not like it's a little bit, it's a lot. Most of us have, I think they say 100,000 calories excess. So in fact, fasting mobilizes, stimulates, enhances the metabolism. Whereas calorie restrictions, in the terms of a calorie restricted diet, will slow the metabolism. So that's one of the reasons I love the idea of fasting. It's a powerful tool that we can use in this process of reversing diabetes. Okay, let's do one more and then we'll come and do some other things. So calorie in, calorie out is the only factor in weight management. And we've just said that, right? So 1 + 1 is not necessarily equal to 2, because the food that we eat also has a component of a signal to the body to tell the body, hey, I need you to process, I need you to store in a different way. Okay? So lots of things that are out there in terms of how the body processes and how calories work. So the answer to the question then is a calorie, or are calories, the key? And the answer is calories are not the key. We'll come more and we'll do more explanation. Like I said, this is an introductory show for several shows that we're going to be doing, dealing with calories and how our body works and exercise and so forth, as we get into the rest of New Year, New You. Right? So glad that you guys are here. Glad that you were able to come and join me. Let's take a look at blood sugar. Right? Take a look at our blood sugars. I want to go ahead and look so we can see what my Dexcom has been doing. Let's hop over and do that right now. Okay. And so you'll see here is my Dexcom Clarity report. You see my average blood sugar over the last 2 weeks has been 115. If I go to a 90-day report, probably going to be like 105. Yep, 104. With a glucose management indicator right there of 5.8. That says if I got my A1C today, that's what my A1C would be, 5.8. And in fact, when we did do blood work a couple weeks ago, right there in the middle of the screen, you'll see that my A1C was actually a 5.8, right? So they're just in keeping with what I would expect based on the blood sugars I'm seeing on the monitor. And I am in target 91% of the time, which gives me a target range of 70 to 180. If I look at the daily graphs, and we'll go back and start on Friday, because Friday was when was it Friday or Thursday that Thursday actually, that we broke our fast. Thursday was my son's, well, the next day was his birthday, but we had some cake. You guys remember that? So let's see. On Thursday, and so right here, Thursday was when I broke the fast and we ate not chocolate, but birthday cake. And you see that blood sugar spiked up. I think it got up to as high as 167. And I'll have to say to you, by the way, right? Great place for this, and I'll talk more as we get into the rest of this week. Because I broke the fast with cake, highly processed, high sugar, I struggled a little bit more this week, right? Because that spike in blood sugar caused a spike in insulin, caused a spike in appetite, and you'll see that we've been kind of running in the 130s, 140s, and then just yesterday, that was Friday night, up to 190, right? 188. This is Saturday, right? Didn't quite get to 200, but got pretty close right there, 199. And then into Sunday, 130s, 140s. So finally, okay, hey, we're getting a handle on that. And then down into the 140s. And then today, so we, was it yesterday, last night? About 7, 8 o'clock was when we stopped eating. And notice today blood sugars are on its way down. Okay? And so that is a real thing. That's a real thing. We'll talk more about that as we get into some of our check-ins, as we get into the rest of this week. Let's go ahead and let's take a look and see what my ketones are. Let's grab this out. And what do you think my ketones are going to be? Right, so just about 24 hours in terms of not eating. Let's go ahead and turn that back on, and then we should see the app sync here in just a minute. And we'll see what that is. I'm going to guess probably 0.2. That's going to be my guess. I know Teresa and Jennifer, you guys are always guessing. Let's see, it's not. Let's go ahead and force it to sync. And catch that there in just a second. All right, so we've got our data over, and so there you go. Blood sugar was 82 and ketones were low, so it didn't even register ketones. Okay, and so if I look at the actual graph, you'll see their blood sugars, that tan line, that's blood sugar, and the turquoise line at the bottom of ketones. And so ketones had gotten up to, I guess 0.3 was when we did a check-in, 0.3, and then before we broke the fast, or at the time we did, it was ketones actually had gotten down. And so now they're actually is 0, right? So low. So remember, ketones less than 0.5 are considered normal. 0.5 to 1.5 considered nutritional ketosis. and then greater than 1.5 is considered to be therapeutic ketosis. And so it would be interesting to see here in another 24 hours what those ketones are going to be as we continue in the fast. Awesome. All right. Okay. I am so as we get into the rest of the month. So this month, the month of June is almost over, right? We got a few more days, and we'll talk a bit about our challenge here in just a minute. As we get into the rest of the July, we're going to be talking about calories, right? This is the introductory show for that. We're going to have some interesting discussions about calories, about exercising, and I'm going to show you some stuff. How much exercise do you have to do to burn off a cookie? That's what I really want to know. In fact, how much exercise do I have to do to burn off a cookie and some ice cream? Those are my two things, right? So Ben and Jerry's ice cream. That Cherry Garcia, that's my thing. And so I'm going to be trying to figure that out because, yeah. So whatever your thing is, I want you to be thinking about it, right? Because we're going to come back and we're going to have some conversations around calories, around exercising. What is the benefit of exercising? Which has a bigger impact on my blood sugar, right? The exercise or the food, right? Calories. Is it an even exchange? So all those conversations we're going to be having as we get into get into next month, and as we move through the rest of our conversations. I want to take a moment to talk about unlimited potential that you have in your hands, the unlimited ability that you have to make changes, the unlimited ability that you have to go in a different direction than you've been going. You've made some changes, or you've made some decisions, you've made some choices that may even now are causing issues for your health. But that doesn't mean that we're stuck there, because we have the ability to change. Education, empowerment, and encouragement, that's the premise on which all the things that we're doing is built. That gives you unlimited ability. You can tap into that potential. It's kind of like I love superhero movies. I love superheroes. I'm a comic collector and all that. Yeah. One time I'll probably bring some of my comics to show you guys. But one of the things I love in the movies, or love in the comic books, I love the stories of the comics, is that there's this person who may be born with, or may have acquired, may be gifted some special ability. And in the beginning of the movie, in the beginning of the story, and this is why we love the story, there is this struggle that they go through in who they are, in coming into their own, in coming into the awareness of being able to use the power, being able to use the talent, being able to use the gift. And what does that mean for them? How does that change their lives? And the reason that often I love the story is because I see myself in there. There's that struggle that goes on. And we sometimes can see ourselves in that story. We've tried some things in the past. We're not quite sure. Is this going to work? Is that where I want to go? Is this the thing that I want to do? But ultimately, the decision to use the ability, to use the power, is in the hand of the superhero. And the ability to tap into your potential is in your hands. And educating, empowering, and encouraging is a way to do that. You get to set yourself up for success by putting yourself in that space. And actually, that's a great place to do our thought for today. And our thought for today comes right on the heels of our unlimited potential. One of my favorite superheroes is Superman. He was born on another planet. He came to Earth and he lived among us. And as he was developing, he started to see these amazing abilities come out. He could run faster than other people. He could jump higher than other people. He could hear in long distances. He could see great distances. He could eventually fly. But one of the struggles that he had early on was how he fit into the rest of the world. What was going to be his thing? What was going to be his way of making a mark in the world? And what I love about the story is that as he was testing out these powers, as he was testing out these abilities, even though he was unsure, he was still learning. And he had around him Ma and Pa Kent, because they could guide him, they could direct him, they could give him the ability or give him the words to try things. One of the things I'm teaching my son is that just because you're afraid of it doesn't mean that you don't have to do it. Just because it seems scary doesn't mean that it can't be done. Just because you don't know how to do it doesn't mean you can't attempt it. And so in this space, in your health, the unlimited ability that you have, the unlimited potential that you could tap into, number one, you're unsure. That's okay. Number two, you've done some things in the past and it hasn't worked. But guess what? That's the past. We're heading into the future. You may have been alone working on this, no longer alone because you have community. We educate, we empower, and we encourage. And so your unlimited ability is at your fingertips. You have the ability to tap into it. And ultimately, just like the superhero, you get to make the decision on how it gets used. And that is our thought for today. All right. So education, empowerment, and encouragement. That is our platform here on the channel. We educate with the shows, with the podcast, with the blogs that we do. Make those are out there. They are on our channel. They are on our YouTube page. They are on our social media platform. In fact, let me go ahead and pop this in the chat here really quickly. But you can get it out there. We educate, and the idea of education is to provide a mind shift, provide a mind shift for you, and to give you the ability to see things in a different light. In order to change, in order to have make a difference, you've got to be able to see things in a different space. I've missed a couple of, let me put this in here really quickly. And then I think I've missed a few comments. How did that happen? Okay, let me pop over here. Let me do that, because I do see some folks who are talking. Let's see. For some reason, y'all, my comments are not coming up. But I do see Steve. Hey, Steve, how you doing? Jennifer, I see you out there. Let's see. Let's try it this way. Okay, there we go. All right, so here we go. All right. Oh, wow. So I see, okay, Teresa said, hey, Dr. Woode and everyone. Hello, Teresa, from Steve. Hi, good evening, all. Evening. The light work said he's new. Teresa says yes. Let's Fat Fairy Fitness said there was an audio sync issue. Hopefully you guys are hearing me and seeing me well. Steve said howdy. Teresa said, hey Jennifer. Hey Jennifer. So the time you eat also matters. Yes, the time you eat matters. My doctor has said several times over the past 8 years that you can lose weight on a cotton candy diet where cotton candy is all you eat. What a mess. That's coming from Jennifer. Jennifer said, I track calories so I don't eat too little protein, fiber, fat, and carbs. I have minimum and maximum. Sorry for any misspelling. I'm on the phone without reading glasses. That's all right. We get you. We get what you're saying. That's a good idea, Jennifer. Sometimes I feel like I've eaten a few calories. Lightwork says, I was diagnosed with type 2 in May. A1C was 10.8. Primary prescribed 100 milligrams of metformin. Basically, take these, come back in 3 months. Should I add an endocrinologist to my diabetes team? Hey, you know what? So maybe I might be a little biased. Okay, maybe you think a little biased. But I think endocrinologists are like the greatest doctors. Okay. Yeah, because everything in the body runs by hormones, right? I think, here's the thing, here's what I tell other people, what I always tell folks. I think that your healthcare team, wherever you are, is an amazing team. Now, as we learn, we all expand our treatment. It has taken me a while to get to the space where I am, right? So I trained in internal medicine and pediatrics. I practiced for years before it became evident to me that the way I was treating, the way I was working, the way I was taking care of patients did not suit everyone. And so I made a change. In fact, the change came as I was personally going through a change. Okay, so with that as a backdrop, I think talk to your healthcare team, let them know. Say, hey, do you think I need to see an endocrinologist? I say yes, but talk with them and say, hey, are there things that we could do to improve, and get their opinion, get buy-in, right? Because remember, it's a team effort. I tell my folks, it's a team effort. You want to make sure that your entire team is working for you. All right. Let's see. Okay, 10.5. Teresa said 1.7. I guess you're just guessing for the ketones. Teresa said, oh no, that's a high number. Light. It'll be fun watching you develop your new lifestyle and having that number too. Okay, talking to Lightworks. Yes, definitely. March 2023, I topped out in the upper 9s. Just over a month ago, I was 5.2. What? Another benefit of fasting has been improvement in my retinopathy. My doctor told me it has greatly reduced. He changed my appointments from every 3 months to every 9 months. What? Steve, there you go. You get a hand clap. Wow, big improvement, Steve. Congratulations. Yes, congratulations. Awesome, awesome. At Light, yeah, you can do this thing, and you have the best person there is to teach you how. Dr. Woodward is awesome. We hear you fine. Okay, thank you. Yeah, Steve, big accomplishments. Man, I am just so excited for all of the benefit that you guys are seeing in your lives across the board, whether it's blood sugar, weight, even the ability. And here's one that we don't talk about, right? So I love all of the physical, the metabolic things that are going on. But one that we don't talk about often, and I've got to probably do something about it, is the change that we're having up here. The change that we're having that says, I am now in charge of this. Because for so long, for so many people, it feels like the blood sugar and the diabetes and the high blood pressure and the high cholesterol and all the other things, it feels like that disease is in charge. But here now, for the first time, finally, for a lot of people, we feel like we have the ability, we can make a decision on how we're going to take care of our health. And I love that. I love that in this space. So very, very good. I love all of that. So congratulations to everyone. Let's see, where was I heading? Yeah. So education, educate, we empower, and we encourage. We educate, we empower, we encourage here on the channel. The education comes with the shows, the podcasts, the blogs. The empowerment comes with the tools that we're learning. Just like right now, we're learning about calories. We learned about the heat model. We learned about emotional intelligence. We learned about how to create a menu. All those are tools that we use. And the empowerment comes from the community, just like we're doing right now. This community that's amazing. I love how you guys share your stories and how you communicate with each other. Okay? And the encouragement is amazing. The heat model says that there are some things that push us off of our eating plan, decisions that we make, things that push us off the horse, if you will. Habits, emotions, access, and taste. All of those are the things that will nudge us in a direction that we don't want to go. We eat not because we're hungry, but because it's noon. We eat because we go to the movies, and that's what we do in the movies. We eat because we get together with friends, and we go to a coffee shop. We go to wherever, and we have a donut. We have a cookie. We have a Pop-Tart. We have a whatever. We're not hungry, but we eat because of habit. We eat because of emotions. We're angry, we're lonely, we're tired, we're bored, we're frustrated, we're anxious. All of those things will push us in a direction that we don't want to go. And here's the thing. When those emotions get strong enough, it's going to push through your decision to not eat the thing. So the idea is just like a roller coaster. You get to the top, you get to the pinnacle. Once you're up there, guess what? That car is coming down. And often we allow our emotions to get to that point, and then we try to stop it. And we can't stop it because it's coming down the other side. So we eat because of habits. We eat because of emotions. We eat because of access, because things just are in our space. It's on the table. It's in the bowl. It's in the pantry. We walk by a coworker, and they have candy on the desk, so we grab one. We're not hungry, but it's there. I told you that there's some things I just don't bring in the house anymore. I eat them out there, and I get a little bag. I eat them, and we're done. Almonds, cashews, those are my thing. I think I'm going to have to add cheese to that list. Yo. Whole nother conversation. And then we eat because of taste. We're never chasing the food, but always what the food does for us. The calm that it brings, the memory that it brings back to us. That's what we're eating. That's what we're chasing. And our call to action is this: join the challenges. Don't let them just happen, because we have a challenge every month. In the month of January, figure out your why. Why do you want to be healthy? Why? What are the things that are in your life that you're trying to be healthy for? Maybe it's a retirement. Maybe it's a trip. Maybe it's a grandson, a granddaughter. Maybe it's a daughter that you need to walk down the aisle. Maybe it's to be around for this new baby that just came in the family. Why do you want to be healthy? Because that's going to be the fuel. That's going to be the sail that takes you along the way. In the month of February, work your way up to be able to fast one 24-hour period once a week. Right? We're going to be doing check-ins here so you can see how we do it. But once a week, you want to be fasting for a 24-hour period. That's what we're working on. How do we get there? The heat model, which we just went over. Habits, emotions, access, and taste. Figure out which of these triggers is yours. I've got 3 of them. EAT, emotions, access, and taste. Which is yours? Because if you have it, if you're able to harness it, if you're able to understand it, then you can make decisions about what to do with it. In the month of April, it was to create a meal, a simple meal that met these criteria. Not processed, not highly processed, no added sugar, non-starchy and starchy vegetables, appropriate portion sizes, tasty, right? And lean protein and healthy fats and lean protein. The month of April. In the month of May, find somebody to mentor. Don't just let this be something that you hear, that you do, that you keep to yourself. Find someone to bring along and teach them the New Year, New You model. Let them know that you're going to be checking in with them. And don't just tell them about it and leave them alone and come back 5 months later. No, this is somebody that you're checking in with on a regular basis to make sure that you both are working along and moving and going in the direction that you want to go. And then the month of June, check your labs. Get with your healthcare provider, get with your team, and make sure you're looking at those labs that are important for you to look at. Go back and look at our show that we did in the beginning of June that talks about, hey, these are the labs that we should look at. Okay? And we're coming up, y'all, in the coming up here soon in the rest of this month for so you get some of these. Let me back up. You've got a couple of days. You got a little while to get to that, right? Make sure you're getting those labs checked. So join the challenges. Number 2, tell your story. When you come, share your story, just like people have been talking in the chat. Let us know what's going on. Are you fasting? Are you getting some improvement? All of that we love to hear. We love to know. Because when we see you, we know we can do it. And when we see struggles, when we see places where you're having challenges, we can come alongside you, we can support you, and we know that we're not alone. And then invite someone to this space, this family, this group that we're growing. Invite someone. Let them know, hey, come on, because we're doing some good stuff. We're improving our health. There are over 1 billion people on the planet, 1 billion with a B, who have diabetes or pre-diabetes. You can be the voice of change in your community, in your circle, in your family, at your church, on your job. So share it with somebody, send them the link, and let them know that they can come over and hang out with us. Now, I did not say for you guys last week, but our community meetup is actually this Thursday. Community meetup is actually this Thursday. When I come on for my check-in, I'm going to give the link. We're still kind of working that out so that it's more consistent in terms of you getting the link, but it's going to be this Thursday at 7 o'clock. Thursday at 7 o'clock. Come join us. I think what I may end up doing, y'all, is maybe going live, and maybe I'll just provide the link at that point. But we'll see. Okay, but it's going to be this Thursday, 7 o'clock. Keep an eye out for that. Awesome. All right. So, as I always say, I'm happy, I'm glad, I'm always excited to be in this space with you so that we can share in this space together. Let's see. Let's make sure I didn't miss any other comments. Hey, Dr. Woode, hope you're having a great Monday. I am, that guy. Having a great time. Awesome. So as I always say, y'all, this is Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Woode with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here on the channel, I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life. Avoid complications. Go to the next level. And in this year, new you. Glad that you're here. Join us for the check-ins that are coming up over the next several days. Join us on Thursday for our community meetup, and then on Monday again for our live show, 7 p.m. Central, right here on Dwain Woode, MD. Good night, everybody.